In the heart-pounding saga of betrayal and redemption, Bob Lee Swagger's relentless pursuit of truth unveils a shadowy conspiracy. Falsely accused and left for dead, he battles corrupt forces, risking everything to expose a web of deceit. As bullets fly and secrets unfold, redemption becomes the only way out in this gripping tale. Sniper Sergeant Bob Lee Swagger and Spotter Corporal Donnie Fenn are on a mission in the heart of the Ethiopian desert. They are prepared to go after they have dealt with the enemy vehicle for which they have come. However, a number of enemy troops that weren't intended to be there appear out of nowhere. Bob utilizes his excellent sniping abilities to eliminate as many opponents as he can as both armies commence fire. They ask the CIA to evacuate them as explosives detonate all around them. Unfortunately, they get little attention and contact is cut off from their CIA support staff. Donnie is shot by a helicopter as a consequence, killing him. Bob shoots back, and while he misses a few bullets, he hits the helicopter's propellers with a bullseye shot, causing it to crash. Bob is now residing in the Wyoming highlands with his dog. 3 years later, Colonel Isaac Johnson approaches him one day with a job for him: to organize the president's assassination. They have intelligence indicating that there would be an attempt at assassination shortly. Therefore, he should plot it rather than carry it out. Johnson tells Bob the facts despite Bob's first refusal, appealing to his feeling of responsibility. Bob makes the decision to assist after calculating the distance between himself and the alleged gunman using his own weapon and giving it some serious thought. He goes to all 3 of the president's scheduled speech sites, examining every detail until he deduces that the attempt will take place in Philadelphia. He tells Johnson of this, and Johnson congratulates him and persuades him to come be their spotter on the day of the event. Michael Sander, another ex-soldier assisting with the operation, is also introduced to Bob. Bob meets Johnson's team the day of the event in a room with a view of the location, which they had prepared with the assistance of a local police officer. Bob alerts them that now is the ideal opportunity to shoot when the president is about to speak following the Ethiopian archbishop. He tells them not to listen, but the officer kills Bob as the president is being shot by an unidentified adversary. Bob sustains 2 wounds but escapes by leaping out of a window and then through the glass ceiling of a building. Bob encounters FBI agent Nick Memphis as he rushes through the streets as Johnson's staff cleans the room and only leaves Bob's weapon behind. After taking Nick's vehicle keys and disarming him, Bob tells Nick he did not shoot. The FBI and police soon seize control of the city, even sending helicopters to pursue Bob. Bob goes inside a car wash to find them for a short while. He opens the rear seat to get a first aid kit from the trunk while the vehicle is being washed. He tends to his wounds using the materials. He then returns to the streets, where Bob finds himself cornered after a protracted pursuit. Seeing no other option, he tosses the vehicle into the river while it is in reverse. When the FBI discovers the automobile a little while later, it is empty. Bob has managed to get away by taking a boat cruise. He makes his way back over the river, where he successfully robs a truck, enabling him to easily elude police. In the meanwhile, Nick's failure is being discussed, and Bob's photo is running across the press. His supervisor notifies him that he will be subject to an investigation for humiliating the FBI. Nick recalls Bob telling him it was all a setup, but his employer doesn't think so, and tells him not to include foolish information in his report. Bob visits a grocery shop at dusk, but he doesn't go inside until he's turned off the lights so he won't be recognized in the dark. After obtaining his necessities, he breaks into a mechanic's shop to take some equipment and use the restroom. He makes an improvised 4 using the materials he purchased and injects it into his arm. Returning to Nick, he receives a call while on phone duty from the grocery store clerk, who believes the guy from earlier could be Bob. Nick accepts her account, identifying what Bob purchased as an antiquated means of treating wounds. When he attempts to report it, however, his employer doesn't seem to be interested. Relentlessly, Nick looks into every aspect of the occurrence, feeling as if something is missing. He stays up late at his workplace and doesn't get any sleep. He informs Lourdes Galindo, his colleague, all the evidence he has collected when she finds him there in the morning. Lourdes responds by informing him that the police officer who shot Bob has been discovered dead, thereby supporting and validating Nick's hypothesis. Bob poses as a mechanic and travels for hours before arriving in Kentucky to see Sarah Fenn, Donnie's widow. Although Bob sent her a letter after Donnie passed away and sends her flowers every year, they haven't spoken since. Scared to allow him in, Bob tries to reassure Sarah that he's not guilty when she recalls him. Bob offers Sarah a lengthy list of things to purchase so she can treat him after she tells him the president is all right and the Ethiopian archbishop was shot. Some whipped cream cans are among the supplies. Bob inhales the nitrous oxide gas from one of them, knocking him unconscious as Sarah tends to him. While waiting, Nick explores a few of the nearby buildings and notices tripod markings on the floor of an ancient bell tower. After that, he visits a cafe to speak online with some weapons specialists, who promptly inform him about the remote-controlled guns that would have been useful in such circumstance. Bob is motivated to clear his reputation as soon as he wakes up. He arranges to see Nick, believing that he is the most suitable person to do it. In addition to offering him Donnie's old hunting gun, Sarah agrees to assist him. Their strategy is straightforward. Sarah disguises herself and approaches Nick in a cafe to provide him with Bob's vehicle identification details. In this manner, Johnson will be alerted when Nick looks at the information on the system. Sarah carries out the plan flawlessly, but Bob, who has been observing from a distance, is discovered by the police, who want identification. It is easy for him, a skilled soldier, to battle them, and even turn their own dog against them. After successfully knocking them unconscious, Bob steals a radio and flees. Nick, in the meanwhile, searches the system for the car's details, just as Bob had anticipated, but it's beneath a level of clearance he isn't authorized to access. When he approaches Lords for assistance, she reluctantly responds by letting him know which case has this kind of clearance and confirming that the newscasts received extensively altered videos of the event. Bob's other prediction also comes to pass. Johnson's guys see everything Nick is spying on, so they'll deal with it. After being abducted and severely beaten in exchange for information, the thugs set up a device on Nick to make it seem as if he is about to commit himself. Luckily, Bob comes to Nick's rescue at the last minute, using his sniper to take out all of the goons outside before entering. Given that Nick has evidence that Bob did not shoot the Archbishop, he offers to assist in carrying out this legal action. All Bob wants, however, is retribution, and the law cannot provide him that. Even if his name is cleared, the tainted names will continue to hold positions of authority and carry out repeated wrongdoing. Nick agrees to assist as he has already done enough to lose his own job. When Johnson's men learn that Bob sends Sarah flowers each year, they send someone to abduct Sarah in order to use her as bait. In the meanwhile, Nick and Bob go to Tennessee to meet with Mr. Raitt, an authority in weapons. Mr. Raitt explains to them the process of paper patching, which allows a bullet to be shot from one weapon and seem to have come from another. This is precisely how Bob was framed by Johnson and his group. They utilized a bullet that Bob had shot during the test before agreeing to the assignment. Mr. Raitt informs him that Mel Kaiserback, Sanders' true name, is the only other sniper alive who could have pulled off such a brilliant ruse except Bob. Bob soon realizes this after hearing Mel Kaiserback's description. Nick gives Lords a call so that she may inquire about Sanders' history and provide them with his whereabouts. Actually, Johnson has set this up, ordering Sandor to serve as Bob's bait. Additionally, Johnson solicits a favor from Senator Charles Meckham, who likewise desires Bob's removal. Bob and Nick visit a hardware shop in Virginia, Sanders' home state, to purchase a number of items they need to construct their explosives. Bob also makes the decision to educate Nick the fundamentals of becoming a sniper, so that when the time comes to act, he may assist as a spotter, as he has already deduced that there is a trap waiting for them. While remaining hidden in the woods, Nick uses the communicator to tell Bob where the soldiers are. Bob eliminates most of the guys one by one, dispersing their homemade explosives before going into the house. When Sanders sees him, he is not taken aback and agrees to explain everything. Although he is unaware of Johnson's true identity, he used Sandor in the same manner that he exploited Bob, as well as several other shooters. They come upon a wounded soldier who, after making one job-related plea to his honor, gets dismissed like an old dog. The whole goal of the operation has always been to assassinate the Archbishop, while fabricating a cover story that the shot was meant for the president. The Archbishop was going to inform the world about how Meckham and Johnson's firm, which takes advantage of economic resources in underdeveloped nations, destroyed a whole town to make way for the construction of an oil pipeline. Bob finds out that he unknowingly supplied Overwatch for that day's atrocity in Ethiopia 3 years before, which is why the CIA abandoned him and Donnie to perish. As Nick informs Bob that the troops have reached the home and are encircling it, Sandor admits he has been talking to keep Bob inside until reinforcements come. Then he warns Bob that more than one head has to be chopped and that this scheme is widespread. Before putting a rifle under his chin and firing, he also lets him know that Johnson is the father of Sarah. Then the troops start breaking into the home, so Nick sets off the gas and pipe bombs as Bob uses the smoke as cover to beat them off. Bob flees the home and keeps shooting troops while making his way to a safe location. After setting up the napalm, Nick snipes at any troops that are left, allowing Bob to get away. Soon a helicopter flies into the scene, but Bob is prepared for it this time around because of what transpired in Ethiopia. In order to allow the helicopter to pursue him and Nick as they flee, Bob sets up a device that causes the chopper to catch fire and crash as it passes over the desired location. After escaping together to Montana, Nick phones the Lords and asks her to connect him to his supervisor. Before disconnecting up, Nick just tells them that he's with Bob and that he can't trust anybody since the whole conversation is set up so that Johnson can find the phone and contact them. Bob makes him an offer. In return for getting Sarah back, he would give them Sanders' taped admission of the truth. For further anonymity, he additionally requests that the trade be completed via Meckham. They settle on a snow-capped peak to meet. Sarah, her abductor, Johnson, and Meckham arrive first. Abruptly, a figure emerges a few feet away and approaches them. Thus, after being shot by Johnson's covert snipers, he collapses. However, all of this is a ruse. That guy is Nick, and he is okay because he has a bit of metal underneath his jacket. He serves as bait for Bob to identify Johnson's snipers and take them out. Bob then shoots the criminal who is holding Sarah. Bob approaches the group to do the transaction as Nick is writing the FBI to report this incident. Nick, nevertheless, orders everyone to put down their weapons first. Bob prevents Sarah from shooting the guy who abducted her with one of the firearms before she can speak with Meckham. But really, it's all kind of meaningless. Meckham warns Bob of the extent of the systemic corruption after making him an offer of employment. Bob chooses to destroy his tape after realizing it is pointless before the FBI comes to take him into custody. Bob is given permission to meet with the FBI director and the Attorney General in Washington, D.C. A few days after all had happened, Johnson, Sarah, and Nick are also there. Bob uses his gun, which was discovered at the murder site, to demonstrate his innocence. He had asked for it to be brought. This weapon does not shoot properly, since Bob always replaces the firing pins in his firearms before leaving the house, as he shows by not shooting at Johnson. Bob is released when the Attorney General acknowledges this piece of evidence, but he is unable to accept his claims against Meckham and Johnson due to insufficient evidence. Nick interrupts and shows him images of the slaughter in Ethiopia, but the Attorney General says it's beyond his purview and he can't do anything about it. A little later, Meckham, Johnson, and their helper are laughing about how they got away with it in the senator's mountain home. Abruptly, Johnson is shot and dies, and their automobile blows up outside. Now at the entrance, it's Bob, who takes down the security guard and then the assistant before pursuing Meckham. The senator tells Bob that he is a member of the U.S. government, to which Bob just responds, "Exactly," before killing him as well. He then places his rifle in Johnson's hand and bursts the gas line, causing the building to go up as soon as he leaves the home. After a while, Bob comes to the road where Sarah is waiting for him in a vehicle, and they go off to begin a new life.